What's up, Calvin? Technical difficulties aside, how you doing, Bubba?
Pretty good.
I love it. It's the one day that we actually have like a hard out, and it's the one day where we just like, why isn't our internet working? We just started recording for like 5 minutes, like everything's going fine, like, and then all of a sudden, it crash. Everything's gone to crap. Fuck's sake. It always has to be.
That's right.
It is Christmas time. It's December 20th. Uh, Fucking crazy that it's almost the end of the year. Before we crashed out, I wanted to ask you, like, yeah, like, what are you doing for Christmas?
Honestly, nothing. Like normally I go home, but just chilling here for now. Maybe hang out with some friends. So that's why it's not a big deal for me this year. How
What?
about you?
Well, we're gonna be chilling with family for the first time in a while. Usually,
Oh yeah.
I'm doing friendsgivings or or Christmas on my own. So many times I've worked Christmas. Like I used to kind of
Yeah.
love working Christmas because you still had to show up to the office, but like nobody was necessarily working all that much, and you could kind of just do whatever you
Uh
wanted to do on the game that you were on, and that was kind of great because you could get kind of like a lot of things done, if you know what I mean, at the same
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But
That's pretty funny.
in the midterm though, like I saw a couple of different things in the FPS side of stuff that was really interesting, right? Or not really interesting, but just some stuff that had just come up within the week, right? So this is we've had the 30th anniversary of Doom, which is kind of big, I guess, for us, for me, old people. And in that same vein, John Romero dropped Sigil 2, just like a whole updated version, not even an updated version, like a new version of um of his newest. I don't know how you would even say it, right? Sigil 1 comes out. It's Doom on steroids, right? And it's on the Doom 2 engine. So you can look up and down and do a couple of other things as well too. But this time he built it on the Doom 1, so you can look up and down. It's really the most classic version of Doom. But I guess cool that he's just like still throwing stuff out at the wall with
I'll
this.
start sharing some of these.
Yeah. And if nobody's watched Civi 11, great YouTube channel, super fun. He's a funny guy, goes through a bunch of these old retro boomer shooters, and it's a good amount of fun. But I think the big thing you take away if you actually watch this video or play a little bit of this is that the level design continues to ever evolve with this. It is a unique prospect that you don't get level design like you do in Doom anywhere else.
Hmm.
These are patterns that people would tell you to not do in this day and age, which is like much more complicated, not asymmetrical at all. And he's using the same textures from the original Doom, so didn't even update any of those things. So it's just incredible, like what you can still get out of what is a 30-year-old engine and a 30-year-old game and texture pack.
Yeah.
You know,
I have a question about this. So, as somebody that just like really casually played Doom growing up, I always hear John Romero is a legendary designer. Was he a legendary level designer as well? Is that like what made him also famous? Or
yeah. So he
oh,
was he
so
was
what's like
game
his
design.
signature like style with level design that made him
A
stand out?
lot of this just like kind of asymmetrical, always walking around a corner and not really seeing, not really. You kind of always are kind of going into a new space, but everything still feels very interconnected and intertwined. There is a story that gets told if you look at the totality of a level, but
Hmm.
there's also just like a lot of these like very interesting places where enemies kind of come out, catch you off guard at times, where you're like, I didn't think something was going to come at me, and then all of a sudden something does. And the pacing of the levels for Doom I think were always really interesting. Just not so much of where the enemies were placed, but what enemies were placed in what areas. Felt good comparatively to how the weapons were onboarded, and then later versions of all the Doom games, you kind of just get all the guns a lot quicker. But that's like the fun thing, right? It's like the first time you play Doom, you start off with a pistol, and you never really realize that like the shotgun is like in the first level because you don't
Hmm.
know uh until you play it a little bit, and then you figure it out and you're like, oh, okay, and you kind of get it. Like you see like that part right there, right, this risk reward thing. um
Yeah.
he he shot a wall. I don't know if you're able to go back even just like a little bit, right?
Like
Yeah,
here.
here, right? So like he shoots a wall. I don't know, did that go forward again? Yeah, it feels like it went
I can I
forward
can
again.
I can jump back again.
Yeah, so here, right, he shoots a wall, this level thing comes out, he grabs the armor pack, and then all of a sudden then the floor falls out below him, and then so it's like you're he, lots of breadcrumbing, right? Like, hey, like go get this armor, go get this armor. All of a sudden
Yeah.
you're in a trap and this is a hellhole, and now you have to fight to survive. And that was, I don't know, I always thought that that was like a good amount of fun. Like you have to understand, this stuff is I mean, this is the original of the original. There's like not a lot going
Hmm.
on here. It's the same
Yeah.
enemies over and over again, but somehow it's still, just because of level design, just because of some pacing, there's a lot to challenge yourself as a designer trying to make something like this and make it good. And I
You know,
applaud
one thing
that.
you Yeah, one thing you make me think of is like nowadays when you make level designs, I don't know, some people are so sophisticated, they studied architecture and they study all these things honestly outside of gaming and bring it in. But back then, there's no real precedence, and I feel like I'm just going to assume that Romero just kind of flew by intuition, and he had good intuition as to how to create interesting spaces and interesting gameplay.
Knew his tools and
And
knew how
that's
to
what this looks like to
make his
me.
tools work for him too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like little things. I think what this guy is calling out here, which is like the lava, right, is not just like a flat area, right? It's a broken up texture, or broken up level area, right? So because
Uh,
of that, it breaks up the eye and breaks up the positionality of things, right? So it's not just all just one big blob of lava. It makes it kind of feel like it has some ripples to it,
yeah.
and it has some flow. So it's like, if you know if you really don't have a whole lot, he's still able to put that
Yes.
effort in to like make something still look good from a standpoint as much as possible with very rudimentary tools, But anyway,
I think it's in general. It's funny that we have this rise of boomer shooter remakes, but now we have like the boomer shooter remake made
yeah.
by the original.
Now
That's pretty
here's the thing, right? And if we're just gonna talk about Doom for a little bit, let's talk about Doom for a little bit. I want you to go over. This is I love this. I probably will never play it, but something I will play and I'm gonna try to play is the Doom Infinite that I sent over to you.
Where is it? There it is.
So this, you can go back kind of like maybe to the start or somewhere around the start, right? This is a whole roguelike mod made for Doom 2. Uh, and it honestly seems to be like one of the greatest conversions of an old game to something new that I've ever seen.
Mm,
There's all new weapons, all new stats, whole new systems inside of this that have never been done before. But even the way that they make like the loop room is really interesting, right? So you know how these days Hades does this. You know, Jesus Christ. You know when you would die, you would come back out and then you would invest into some area to make your like runs better or deeper later on,
yeah.
right? That outer loop area, this has this, but it also randomly generates part of that and unlocks more of it as you go. So the more loops that you
Mm,
do and the more that you play in the levels, the more it actually goes and then can change up that outer area and give you access to newer stuff. And all of
mm,
those things are pretty unique, like feel fairly unique to this game by itself. Now, I thought when I was looking at this, oh, somebody has just taken the game itself of Doom and, converted it, put it on a different engine. Nope. This is on GZ Doom. This is on like proper
Yeah,
proper like the Doom engine, but they've rewritten loads of it to give you all of these new experiences. Like right here he's kind of explaining all of the old enemies like the imps and the Kaka demons and stuff like that. They all do different abilities that you've never seen before in the original Doom, like shooting these bigger projectiles at you, shooting bursts of different projectiles at you, and I think that that's incredible. Um, I love this idea of taking an old game and converting it to a roguelike. I think that that's cool as fucking hell, and something I don't know if I've really ever seen happen properly outside of like an actual dev team, like doing it. But I think this one's
yeah.
it's totally free, and I think a lot of roguelikes could learn a lot from this. Personally, I think it's really worth a play, and I'm looking forward to giving it a go.
One thing that's always interesting, especially with older games, because as you were talking about this, I was like, why isn't there like a new Doom remake, or where they just mod the latest Doom and then turn it into a roguelike? But actually, the constraints that come with an old engine and all those things likely force them to be more creative and probably have some mechanics and other things that you don't see in other games. So I also support just doing it with the old engine.
Yeah, look, this is C++ in the end, in the back, right? So still, if you know what you're doing and you know your shit, you can do a lot. You really can. Multiplayer is already built in. It's based on a good framework that's stood the test of time. It's just that you know you kind of do need to be smart to utilize a lot of these things and really
Yeah.
go crazy. But uh, Doom Infinite, check it out because yeah, this is all. There's some really cool mechanics in here, and this shit looks like
I'm
fun as
seeing a
hell.
lot of new stuff right now.
Yeah,
All these items,
this
these
looks
things.
it looks fun as hell. But the
That's
seriously, this outer area that he's in there, that's the part that's intrigued me the most. This and I'm very curious to kind of get it stuck in there and see kind of what's really going on under the hood over there. Is it as
yeah,
cool and crazy as this person's making it sound or what?
yeah. Well, ultimately, I like what you said, which is, hey, see what other games you can just take like older concepts and just turn it into a roguelike to
Yeah.
like kind of modernize it.
Like these tools are out there right now. And if you're just looking to be like, I don't want to make a whole new game, it's like, well, what little things can you add to compound onto something else and change it into something?
Yeah.
I'd love it if you could get
Well,
Call of Duty 2 or Call of Duty 4, like original Modern
mm,
Warfare, and mod the crap out
yeah,
of it. That would be so
yeah.
sweet.
Especially at this point, I think people would be interested because the latest offerings are not up to speed for
Well,
some
a
people.
lot of the times, with FPS, like it's the feel of the gunplay. So it's like
Mm,
if the feel of the gunplay is already there and people have an emotional attachment to that gunplay, well then what more can you do with it? Because people want that
yeah,
experience, but they want more. That's why like zombies works. That's why like these puzzle rooms work. That's why death
yeah.
rooms work and stuff. Hide and seek even. It's like if why isn't everything Fortnite? you know, like
Do you consider the Fortnite game gun play to feel good?
no, 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 I don't.
Oh,
It's
damn.
super
So it's
bouncy
not
and
even
super
built on
janky.
not even built on a good core.
Well,
Damn.
it's not built for me, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
not
honestly, it wasn't even built to be a shooter, right? It was
no,
supposed to be like just this tower defense in the first place. So
yeah. Oh, zombie horde mode thing, that turned into something else, and
yeah,
um, what I mean. But yeah, like that has its own nostalgia for other people, just like this has nostalgia for me.
yeah. Well, I think this might be a good segue to another older game type that I was surprised. I want to talk about Ready or Not, and then we can talk about the body cam stuff.
Yeah.
So, this game is a tactical shooter. It's basically a SWAT game, 6 players. I have been so me, I love cop games and SWAT games. I love the tactical aspect of it where you breach and then you try to assess the situation and be careful. So not really run and gun style. And I haven't even seen this style since Rainbow Six original, like
Hmm.
1996 or something. Because after the original Rainbow Sixes, they started getting more and more and more arcadey, and you're just running and shooting. So I
True.
have played some really obscure SWAT indie games that always failed, and I just accepted the fact that I'll never see a popular SWAT game. But this game, it came out. I mean, it's been in early access, but the official 1.0 launch was last week, and you can see it made it has 100K reviews. It made over 100 million bucks, and I want this so bad, but it's a $50 game, so I'm gonna wait on it. But
Yeah.
it's like it's just a dream to see a very old style. I mean, I guess Arma was a tactical shooter, but it wasn't like SWAT necessarily. So I really like just this very just this theming itself of SWAT.
Man,
So
I
I was
haven't
like, yeah,
heard about, I haven't even thought about Rainbow Six Vegas in so long.
yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
couldn't sprint in Rainbow Six Vegas, like, there was, we're talking tactical, like, it's like 3 bullets, you're dead, 2 bullets, you're
yeah,
dead,
yeah.
like,
That
it was
that's one thing
difficult
I
as
like.
hell. I couldn't believe that
Damn, there's like
a
no
different game,
gameplay.
called Door Kickers,
Oh yeah,
did
yeah,
did kind of like decent as well too. And this
yes,
was a while ago, and I was so surprised that this even did well, right? Like, but there are plenty of people out there that really enjoy the tactical aspect of setting up the squad, knowing when to use that flashbang,
yeah,
limited stuff, right? And I feel like that's a lot of like what Counter Strike feels like too. It's just like, how do we entry frag? How do we get onto the point? Better than anybody else. And it's a cool, like it's its own little thing, right?
yeah. And on Twitch, like it was surprising to see. Okay, well, it's only at 3K, but for it to even have
3K
a
is
few
still
days ago, it had
decent.
like it had a lot of viewers before, so
Yeah, it's only
that
two
was pretty
o'clock right now on a Wednesday as well. So
yeah. So we got some new entries. I mean, we got Lethal Company, we got the finals, and Ready or Not. Basically, three new multiplayer things hitting the top. It's good to
and
see.
what game of the year? What got game of the year? What got
Uh,
it?
uh, Wait, I forget which game.
Tell you, it was Border or Baldur's Gate, right?
Oh, Baldur's Gate. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so this is the thing. Is like if you're looking at metrics of like how well are things doing, right? The finals was never mentioned ever on any of that on any of the Game of the Year awards. Um, I don't know if you can count Classic WoW of coming out this year because I don't think it did. But Lethal
yeah.
Company having almost 40K viewers while World of Warcraft Classic has 62 is nuts. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't know. I'm salty, but good games are out there that are not being surfaced to everybody, or at least being
Yeah.
like awarded in the same ways that they really should be.
Right.
They're just good releases all over the place.
Mhm. Although a game that probably will do well on Twitch. So you were talking. So Bodycam showed some new footage, and you can talk about the differences between the original and the new one.
Yeah, can
This
you
is
stop
similar to
sharing your
tactical shooter.
can you stop sharing your screen and share again just cuz I fucking
Okay,
changed the thing and I broke it. There we go.
that's fine.
We're having technical difficulties today. This is what happens when you hotspot off of a phone for forever.
Uh-oh.
No, I
I'm
still don't see it.
disconnected.
No, I still don't see it. Oh no.
um, I can try one more time. Oh, is it going? It looks like it's going now. Maybe not.
Let's leave this call and then come back. Oh no, wait, it's back.
Okay.
It's back. It's back. I'll just trim that.
All right.
I'll
Cool.
trim it. All right, we're back. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So we're old. You know, what I mean, from old school to new school, right? We're looking at a lot more tactical stuff. Um,
Yeah.
there has been some updates to the photorealistic body cam footage shooter that we were seeing a couple of weeks ago. The thing that I was seeing with this though, you know, police tactical moving in, very interesting, you know, movement, interesting shooting, right? But seeing the new updated videos, everything feels like it's like trying to be like the like super twitchy and fast paced and
Dude, so fast paced. If I knew there was a threat in a house, I am not like ducking my head
yeah, I'm not
like I
moving
have
as
10
fast.
lives.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So there's a thing that we were talking about the other week, which was expectation and monitoring expectation. This has gone against my expectation of what this game was supposed to kind of be and feel like. And I think that is, to me, is going to become a problem of accessibility or want to get into this game. I think that the camera now and the premise that was originally sold to me doesn't serve the pace and speed at which things are going. You know what I mean? Like this like whole like sideways, like I'm running around. Now we're back in like we're back in Rainbow Six
See?
Siege, you know, area
Yeah.
where like people are running sideways and doing this like left and right, and I don't know if I'm okay with that. I think that like they can make the game whatever they want it to be, but if you were gonna just say what like expectation and what reality is, I don't think that this matches up. I don't think it aligns for me, and I think that that's gonna hurt their promise and their sales later on. Personally,
Well, one thing you do have to think about is how so Call of Duty, started out as a pretty realistic shooter and went into a super arcadey route. Rainbow Six went from tactical to much more arcadey.
much more arcadey.
And you got a lot of games that go that route, and they hit the mainstream better. So I don't know. Like I think the tacticalness is maybe less appealing to the mainstream. And I think they do want to have a run and gun with these nice graphics. So I will disagree on your conclusion there. I think unfortunately, as cool and interesting as the original one, which is I'll show you that one. This was the original footage. I don't yeah, I don't think people will like this as much, even though it's so much more interesting. And I do want to say one thing. I was watching like Ready or Not streams, and it. Okay, here's the thing about SWAT. I think this is why maybe they're coming back. It's almost like a horror game.
Mm-hmm.
These tactical shooters, they're really, really tense, and then you get into this really quick engagement, and it's terrifying. So I think that's part of the recent uprising of appeal, along with horror games. But I mean, you're right. You're right. I do not think this arcadey stuff necessarily jumps out at me and looks appealing. But I think more people, more casuals especially, will like it.
I think there's also just a case of like you can't make people play slow necessarily. If that
Yeah, yeah,
horror
yeah,
side of
yeah.
thing doesn't work for them and doesn't like if it's not scary, they're just gonna run and like everybody's gonna run and gun.
Yes.
Look at Tarkov. Like Tarkov started off as everybody would inch, and just like move the whole way around the map as slow as humanly possible. And now you just have people who are just like they turned it into just the most fast paced, run and gun, sprint everywhere, just go crazy mode, and uh, even in like the most hyper technical game like that, people still play like this. So
Now, was that the devs changing the Tarkov mechanics, or did the players just
the
learn to
players,
run faster?
the players
Ah,
learn the maps, they learn the mechanics, they got more comfortable with the game, and they also got out of the fear of loot,
yeah,
right? Of losing loot, because they were like, well, we could always get it back, or we can pick up something, or we can get something else. And then even, better came in, which was like rat runs, right, where it's like you kind of you take in almost nothing or nothing at all and try to find a weapon, and then you start trying to like kill people and like tier up, so you're almost playing like gun game during the game, right? And that by
yeah,
itself is like super interesting because there's phases to the whole thing, right? You start off kind of fast and sneaky and tactical until you get a weapon, and then you kind of go like hardcore, and you're like, okay, game on. Who can I take out? Like, let's go. And then you get that fatty loot kill or any sort of kill, and you're like, yes, like this is incredible. And some of the best runs become those things. So, who am I to say that this is left or right? It's just that if I'm just talking purely off of the expectation call, this is now like moved away from like a game that I would expect to be kind of like this at a fast paced out the door, and it's become less appealing for me to actually play it.
same for me.
Yeah. Why have
Actually,
realistic? Why have realistic body cam things, but then arcadey,
yeah,
no, sprint, arcadey sprinting and jumping and parkouring around the place. I don't know.
yeah.
Just doesn't feel like it aligns.
Speaking of Tarkov, do you want to talk to Tarkov Arena? So I'm not actually familiar with this, but I think you knew some stuff about it.
Yeah, so totally. So you know what I mean? Look, Tarkov at this point now is like a 6-year-old game, almost 7-year-old game, I guess, right? So like, just crazy to think because a lot of things have changed just over the years and wipes to wipes to wipes. They brought out Tarkov Arena, which is something we've been kind of waiting for, and this is uh, team deathmatch or even solo deathmatch, all the Tarkov mechanics, but inside of a TDM. And in doing so, it means that you have a lot more rapid approach and a lot more rapid getting into the firefight that I think people have wanted, right? Like it's hard to go and like pick up this game and play it the way that they want that it's meant to be played or wanted to be played, right? And what I mean by that is the hour long in a raid, skulking around, heart rate is up, elevated, like, oh my god, I'm in, hyper focused, hyper vigilant. And a lot of the times, players just want to go and take a gun in and run around the place and try to shoot some people and not really have an experiment and feel out your gameplay. And this game suffered from one big problem, and it's on part of the mastery curve, which is to get into a firefight with the amount of risk and reward that there was in the game, it meant that you could lose a lot. But the only way that you would be able to feel out your weapon combination, right? Because there's all this types of combination in the weapons themselves and different bullets and everything. It meant that you had to get into those firefights because you had to shoot the bullets. You had to put fire down to get it there to see what would happen when you shot different people. But that sense of loss, might have brought a lot of players out of a lot of that, and it puts a lot of anxiety on players so they don't perform as well when they do get into those firefights. So something like this, more of like, hey, how do we make Tarkov shooting more of an esport? How do we bring in more of the Twitch streams that they've been doing over the last like 3 years, where they pick like one arena and they give everybody kind of almost like a bingo card, and they're like, get everybody's solo, mark things off of your bingo card. This ends up being almost like that now, for them. So quick iteration into battle, quick iteration without a sense of huge loss into the arena mode. Get a feel of all of the attacking and the shooting without having to, you know, without having to go into like hour-long raids and worry about quests or anything else. Just click heads, as the good old people would say, right? Just click at heads, and I kind of like that. It's got a long way to go, though. I think a lot of people are kind of like, but again, now it's like playing with like kind of playing with the formula of a game that's already been entrenched in what it is. So trying to change it from a slow paced gameplay into more of a fast paced momentum is going to shift into the main game as well too. And it's going to have some interesting ramifications overall on how players play the game, play the main game. So I'm curious to see how this, just as like a tech study, like works out for them like later on down the line. But it's the right call.
Yeah.
It's just that it's an interesting call. You know, it's an interesting one that you're like, well, let's see how this kind of goes. You know.
Okay, so I got a question about this, especially because you've seen FPS from the beginning of the genre till now. So this kind of reminds me of what we just looked at with Unrecord or Bodycam, whatever the game is called, or Ready or Not. So you have, let's take Rainbow Six. It went from tactical, cerebral, yet you literally had to plan the routes of your teams. It was totally inaccessible. It was such a hard game.
Yeah. Hard.
To more arcadey, and then just to me, Tarkov Arena seems the same, where it goes from more cerebral and strategic and tactical to, like you said, just click on heads. But it seemed like you favored Tarkov going to Tarkov Arena, but you didn't seem to favor body. Is this game called Body Cam? Oh, I
Who
guess it
knows?
is. Body Cam going to a more arcadey style. So, what's the difference to you, and in that?
So yeah, like so the difference for me is one is expectation, right? So like this Tarkov Arena can still be tactical, and the expectation was that we are going to take the hardcore aspects of Tarkov and move it into a arena based FPS, right? Esport 5v5 blah 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 or whatever amount of whatever, and we're going to move it all into there. So they didn't change anything. They said what they were going to do and they did it, right? um I also think that the body cam thing, right, for me puts a level of realism onto the aspect of the game that then doesn't get driven through, like it does, like that puts a theme against something that doesn't get driven through in the movement mechanics. And that's the only
Okay.
part that I think that, like, if you took away the camera, right, the whole thing, if you took all of that away, this game doesn't change, right? This game might actually get clearer and less frustrating if you took all of that away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you don't actually need it. It doesn't add to accessibility. It doesn't necessarily add to the aspect of the game. It doesn't even really change the look of the game. It just actually just like makes it like, it's like you were trying to me, that again, that's just where from and this is my own personal like merit and expectation. If you spent all this time building a parallax camera with this, this fisheye lens, and trying to force your realism down, down my throat and pushing that boundary, you take me out of it when you start moving towards this like kind of much more fast-paced gameplay that nobody would actually do in the real world.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay. I see what
yeah,
you mean.
I like fast-paced battles and fast-paced time to kill and slower upfront gameplay up until, well, now we need to shoot. So now we need to go, and that part still kind of reigns through, but so I just think again, it's just like if you really just like if you took parts and parts of these things away from this game, nothing changes. But in the Tarkov thing, it's just like we didn't have that. We the main game was trending towards this. It had a need for something like this, and then we had this expectation that we're gonna get something like this, like an arena shooter, somewhere where you're just gonna go and just shoot at people with the Tarkov mechanics, and we got that. So expectation was aligned with what we actually got. Is it as fun as what we wanted it to be? No, but it's what was kind of requested. Now it's a time to say, how does that get refined from here, and then how does that lead back into the main game and change the main game overall?
All right.
Like, it's still
We got
cool
like
though.
maybe yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's gonna push other games to definitely follow suit.
Yeah,
So whatever happens, at least there's that.
yeah.
We got maybe like 5 minutes, and I guess a general question is, what kind of things would you want to see in the future of FPS, or if there's any games that you're looking forward to, which I'm gonna assume there isn't any for
It's
FPS.
so funny. So the one I did send you over was Stalker, and I
Oh
said
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Let's look at that.
and so I am waiting for Stalker 2. I'm really interested in this. I love Stalker 1. Really interesting game. That put you in a setting that you had never really seen before, you were never had explored before, and gives you this like one of the more interesting like starting tactical shooters where everything can fucking kill you and you don't really know what's going on. You don't know who you're talking to, and you're trying to explore this world and go from there. This is like a cinematic trailer, so there was like a lot of just cinematics and people talking, but it did kind of give you a little bit more sense of you know the characters or the quality that bar that they're trying to hit. Now here's the interesting thing when we come back to expectation and everything else. There was a great Reddit comment, or maybe it's on the trailer or somewhere there that I saw, which was just, and I'll parody them. I don't, this isn't my own thought, but it definitely gave me a bright side, which is Stalker was not Stalker was not about necessarily the story. It was like about the the area. It was about this world,
Yeah,
this FPS RPG that I'd never really seen before, in a desolate world that just seemed like it had no hope, and and everything can kill you, and everything is out to get you, and you are just trying to, one, survive, and two, just learn as you go, and scavenge really hardcore to survive and thrive in the end. Now, this as a gameplay trailer spooked some people because it was like, okay, great, cool cutscenes, but what about the world, right? Like, that's what I want to see. The cutscenes mean nothing to me. Cutscenes are just like eye candy. I don't really care about cutscenes. Story, sure, but I don't really care about cutscenes. If the world suffers and is not something extremely unique by itself and doesn't have that same feeling and that same vibe, right, like to it, I don't care how much time you put into facial reconstruction into and cutscenes, right? So it's just a matter of, like, again, a little bit of hope and expectation from a different game and different era, where we have already done this before. So there's going to be things that were from the past that we'll see again. Great. And it's hard to do something new completely twice. But there needs to be a level up there on all of those fronts: mechanics, the world, the exploration of that world, the freedom of that world, the ability to go anywhere, to do anything, to become whoever you want to be. That better be in it, because if Stalker becomes a Call of Duty, then that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. It's not going to be Stalker anymore. It's just not going to be. It's going to be something
yeah.
different, and that's not the game that we want to play. We want to play, something like leveled up from the original Stalker. or the Stalker
Yeah.
mods or any of the other ones as well too. You know, which there's 15 years of history now to build upon, especially Arma
Yeah.
and the way Arma and Daisy changed a lot of that feeling. Didn't change the feeling, but again, built on the basis of a lot of those feelings. So it's um I don't know, I think it's just really important to just like set those expectations and to drive those things home, you know.
Yeah, it seems like you're pretty drawn into settings because you're really attracted by Atomic Heart, at least, at least from the trailer.
I like, yeah, it's not like a Russian thing, but I do like the Russian weirdness, you know, that comes with
Yeah.
a lot of those games, you know. Atomic Heart just has like a amazing fucking landscape. It really is beautiful. Stalker is, you know, is has an amazing hellscape landscape as well too. There's always, if you read literature from those areas, you know, and writers from those areas and stuff like that too, it's always the same type of thing of it's fucking depressing, you know. It is like it
Yeah.
has like an air of like of real depression to it and real fucking grit. If you've ever never watched like any of the, you know, Euro movies or like the original Stalker movie, um, let me see if I can just really quickly. I know you gotta go.
Oh, I gotta go. Gotta go in a
Oh,
minute.
okay.
So
Well, look, if you ever look them up, they're cool, but they just have this. They just have a different feel to them than Western movies do. They really do, and I think that
yeah,
that's something that's really interesting.
more
Different.
depressing shooters. Let's
I
go.
loved it. I love depressing shooters. All right, Peter. Talk to you later. Okay. Enjoy yourself.